Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today I'll be reviewing the long-anticipated S.H.Figuarts Goku, the Games Begin version. Now this is a very interesting figure because it's using brand new articulation, and it sort of sits in a weird spot between, we're getting a lot of sort of 3.0 Dragon Ball Z figures where a lot of the body styles and articulation was much more advanced from the body types that they were using for quite some time, which we were familiar with a lot of the recent releases, as well as the re-releases, the, Saiyan Raised on Earth Goku, the Full Power Super Saiyan Goku, even like things like the P Bandai Yamcha, and even the Ultra Instinct Goku that they've done re-releases and new paint styles of recently. But we were stuck with that body type for quite some time. Recent years they've been updating it with like the Super Saiyan 4 Goku, the legendary Super Saiyan Goku, the Superhero Gohan, as well as the Daima Goku, which used elements of 3.0, but sort of more so its own thing. So we've sort of been in a flux sort of state of new articulation and new body types. Do we label this as a brand new style? Do we not? Is it just a one-off? Who knows? But this sort of heralds a brand new style for S.H.Figuarts, and I think it will be the base going forward, especially since they are releasing this Super Saiyan Goku and already showing the base form Goku that will be coming out next year using the exact same body type and articulation. So I think it's fair to say that this will probably be the 4.0, or it will be whatever the new standard is going forward. Now this is Goku as he appears in the Android Saga / Cell Saga, like that's why it's called the Games Begin. It's literally right before the Cell games start, which is also why Goku is in his Super Saiyan state, and why he has faces to sort of indicate that that is his sort of mastered Super Saiyan form after the Hyperbolic Time Chamber training. But taken out of the box, here is what Goku comes with. So we get the figure itself, a bunch of different paired hands, instant transmission hands on both sides, which is very much appreciated, windswept hair, as well as 4 faces. Not the craziest loadout out there, but this is a standard release and it is everything you need. It is quite nice that we are getting windswept hair as a standard for pretty much all figures, or at least most figures at this point. But taken out of the box and put on a display, here is Goku, and he looks very, very good. Now, the body type is bulkier than what we've seen with the 2.0 figures, but it is a little bit slimmer than sort of the 3.0s that we were getting, which is like, he feels a little bit slimmer than the Superhero Gohan, and in particular, much slimmer than the legendary Super Saiyan Goku, but the legendary Super Saiyan Goku was specifically like the bulked up Goku when he was fighting Frieza at the end of the fight. They are going to be using a body type incredibly similar to this, with some slight differences in the chest for the first appearance Super Saiyan Goku that will also be coming out next year as Premium Bandai. So this is sort of like, standard Super Saiyan Goku, like I said, standardized for the new articulation. And like, this is what Super Saiyan Goku looks like for a majority of sort of the middle of Z to like, Buu Saga and things like that. This is sort of the style as it was refined and aired on TV. But this is a very, very nice looking figure. The sculpt is quite nice. I like the bulky frame. I like the shading on the pants as well as the subtle shading on the hair. It would have been nice to get a little bit of shading as well on the torso, but it's fine. All of the detail work is nice. There could be just a touch more paint, like I said, but everything is fine. There are some very minor paint errors on the sash. There's a little bit of orange. I think that it is a painted sash, so it just chipped off, and there is a black spot on his hair. Not super noticeable, but it is just to be noted. A lot of these figures don't come perfect, and sometimes you get a little bit of bad QC. There's also a paint error on one of the faces. The error is covered up by his bangs, so it's perfectly fine. I will note, because of the new articulation, which we will get into, it does make the silhouette of this figure a little bit difficult to achieve, especially with how they've done the shoulders and sleeves. It takes a little bit of getting used to. It makes some neutral poses a little bit awkward, but it makes action poses way easier. So for a quick size comparison, here he is next to the Teen Gohan that they released last year, so Cell Saga Gohan, and he got a recent re-release. The articulation is actually quite similar, and the body type is quite similar. This was sort of like, heralding the new articulation, but didn't really seem like it at the time. And here he is next to the legendary Super Saiyan Goku, so you can see how that frame is completely different to this one, in particular around the upper body. Here he is next to the Superhero Gohan, the 1.0 and 2.0 Super Saiyan Gokus, and we will go through a few articulation differences between a lot of these as well, just so you can see why I believe that this should be sort of listed as a 4.0 rather than, discussing it with the 3.0s, just because this does feel completely different to what we've had before. Now, for articulation, he's got a ball joint in the head and neck. The joint is connected to the back of his hair, so it is a little bit different, movement-wise. It does allow for a good range of motion. A double ball peg would have probably achieved a similar result, but because they've done it this way, it means that you can't do head swaps with other Gokus unless you were to remove the peg entirely from the neck and probably re-sculpt something else that will work. Use some sort of third-party thing, or some blue tack or something like that. But as it is base, you can't just swap out the heads easily. But it does allow for good range of motion, good side to side, up and down, and the neck is nice and bulky as well, but doesn't hinder motion. The arms can butterfly in that far, which is really nice. There is a soft plastic in the upper chest. There's an upper arm swivel. The arm can rotate all the way around. There's a bend at the elbow, as well as a ball hinge at the wrist. The sleeves are actually two separate little pieces, so you need to move the blue and the orange piece sort of independently, and that can mess with the aesthetics a little bit if you're not careful with it. But like I said, action pose is fine, neutral pose is a little bit difficult. The soft plastic in the shirt is an overlay, and again, if you're posing it in awkward ways, you will see underneath that and all of the sort of joints and engineering at work, so it's a little bit difficult to get the perfect angle on it. But again, action poses perfectly fine, neutral poses just something to look out for. Now, the ab crunch is a little bit awkward if you don't have it lined up correctly, so it can pop off fairly easily, but it is the best ab crunch we've probably had on a Goku so far, and it allows for some nice bending. Not the deepest crunches in the world, but definitely more than we've had before, and enough to get the job done. It does leave the figure a little bit gappy in the back, so again, angle of view is quite important. If you arc it back, there is also a gap in the front. I'm not a huge fan of how gappy it is, but aesthetically it doesn't really bother me at all. You can do the splits that far, you can kick forward and back that far. The crotch piece is a soft plastic as well, so you can extend the legs even further if you want. There's an upper thigh swivel, bend at the knee. This is the same sort of joint system as the Daima Goku, and aesthetically looks quite nice and clean. There's a boot hinge forward, not back, and no swivel. I'm not really sure what that accomplishes. I appreciate that there is something different going on there, but I'm not sure what it's specifically meant to be used for. The articulation in the foot is actually quite good as well. It sort of hinges down, and then you can pivot and bend at the ankle and toe just fine, and it's better than a lot of the other booted Dragon Ball figures we've had in the past. Makes me hopeful for the new updated Vegeta as well. So overall, the articulation is pretty much brand new from what we've had before. There's similar elements for sure, like arms function like arms in any other figure, butterflies function like butterflies, and crunches function like crunches, but the way that they've achieved it here is different to what we've had in the past. And it's sort of like a fusion of some of the articulation principles that they've had recently mixed with, Dragon Ball Daima Goku, and it's a nice sort of fusion, and overall makes a much more playable figure. Now, for faces, we get 4 faces out of the box. So there's a neutral serious face. There is a sort of standard happy-ish Goku face. This is sort of as he's mastered the Super Saiyan form and sort of stays in that state constantly. It's similar to what they did with the full power Super Saiyan Goku face, but it is achieved much better here. And again, the whole sculpt of this Goku reads more as Goku of that time, and it is very nice. Then we get a teeth clenched angry face looking to the side, as well as a mouth open shouting face. All of these are sculpted fantastically, as well as detailed fantastically. Again, paint error on one of mine, but hidden by the bangs. And then there is a windswept hair effect, and that is compatible with all the faces as well. Now, in terms of differences of articulation with all of the other figures, I just thought that the key differences aesthetically and engineering wise that they all share are butterflies as well as knee bends. So for the butterflies, it's always been a little bit difficult for Gokus to cross their arms and do a traditional Kamehameha pose. Usually you have to sort of like fumble around a bit and, you know, fudge camera angles to make it look like the hands are together or connected in just the right way to do the classic Kamehameha pose. The legendary Super Saiyan Goku was able to achieve this with relative ease, and it was the easiest one to do this in the past. 2.0 Gokus had a little bit of difficulty, 1.0s as well, and the standard 3.0s had, you know, a little bit of trouble as well. It was all a matter of like minor adjustments until you get it just right, and even then it's a little bit tricky, especially with 2.0s. But for this one, it was the easiest thing in the world. You just cross the arms and you're done. I didn't need to do any micro adjustments or anything like that. It just worked smoothly immediately. Now for the knee bends, they've always been a little bit of a contentious issue because like the angle of the knee and the leg just looks really, really unnatural. 3.0s worked on this quite a bit, but it did still look a bit strange. 2.0s left this weird jagged piece just pointed out at the knee, which looked strange. 1.0 legs looked weird at standard poses, like not bent at all, but once you fully bend them, they looked really good. So it was all sort of strange. This Goku that we're looking at today, I think achieves it in the smoothest way possible. Yeah, it might not be, you know, the traditional double bend for a knee joint, but it doesn't really need to be if the joint is tight enough and the range of motion is still the same. I don't think it matters all that much, especially when they've added in, or at least tried to add in, extra articulation with that boot bend. Again, still don't really understand fully what it's there to achieve. If it bent backwards or swiveled a little bit as well, I could get it a little bit more. If it was like what Revoltech do, where it's like a ball joint, I could kind of get behind it a bit more to understand where they're coming from, to add extra articulation into the leg to necessitate not having a double bend in the knees. But Amazing Yamaguchi figures don't do double knee bends either, and they have incredible articulation, so it's all, you know, relative. And then putting all of the Gokus in a standard ready pose, you know, there's limitations to the older sculpts. Like the 1.0 sort of gets it just right. It is a little bit flimsy because it is an older figure. The legendary Super Saiyan Goku gets into it perfectly fine, a little bit of adjustment here or there. The 2.0, you need a lot of adjustment to get it to the right pose, and I sort of gave up halfway through, which is why he's leaning forward as he is. But he generally has like the hardest articulation to work with to get like the best results, and it's like well known to, you know, take it apart to modify the ab crunch anyway to get more natural poses. Again, the 4.0 gets these poses very naturally. You can curve the body without any issues, and it just adds a much more dynamic feel to the figure in general. And then moving on to all the other poses, all of the accessories that this Goku comes with are fantastic and just what you need to achieve some really fantastic results. He looks good in just about any pose you put him in, and he gets into those poses perfectly fine. Like I said, standard Kamehameha pose, very easy. Charging a Kamehameha, also very easy. Getting his hands together to do getting his arm bent forward to do an instant transmission, much easier than I've had in the past. The angles just work better here, and I am very, very happy with it. It's just sort of like allowing enough clearance to make certain actions look better. Like sometimes for the older figures, when you did instant transmission, the fingers would cover the face too much and it'd be awkward, or it would hover too far above the bangs. It was a whole thing, and this figure was able to achieve it a little bit easier. Even if the articulation is the same, the clearance on each of the joints just feels a little bit better. One of the other things that I noticed was that even if the heads aren't swappable, the hands can be, because the ball joints for the swaps are exactly the same. So you could put the legendary Super Saiyan Goku's hands on this one, and that's exactly what I did to do his Kamehameha. I swapped out the hands and put on that effect part. The color match doesn't work because they're completely different skin tones, but when you pose them up, it doesn't really matter too much, and if you trick of certain lighting, you wouldn't really notice it anyway. And I had a lot of fun with this figure. He's really, really good. Again, when you put him in neutral poses, you just sort of need to be mindful of how the shoulder articulation works to make everything look okay. Otherwise, his chest looks a little bit too slim or a little bit too wide, like a little bit too much like a pizza slice. It's one of those things that you do need micro adjustments for that aesthetically, but in terms of the actual functionality of all of the joints, I had no real issues with it. And overall, this is a fantastic figure. I had a lot more fun with it than I thought I would. and I think that this is probably going to be the standard going forward for S.H.Figuarts, especially the S.H.Figuarts Dragon Ball line. And I think that it is a good standard to have. Yes, they'll probably milk the heck out of it, but I think that's fine. And I think if you cover enough characters as they should, it'll be okay. I think you can do a lot of the new states of Goku, different Super Saiyans. A Super Saiyan 3 with this body type would be nice. Working on sort of like neck articulation and solidity of legs would be good for that as well. But if you're going to say like revisit base Super Saiyan God Goku from Dragon Ball Super, I think they should leave that as a 2.0 body, because if you get all these other updated Gokus all together and you keep God Goku as 2.0, then him being slimmer than the other figures will actually work way more to his benefit, rather than the very, very subtle slimmer arm joints and slimmer chest that he actually had. So I think that there's a lot of potential in this line. I think that they can go pretty far with it. I think the true indicator of this line will be how the Vegeta turns out, because he's always had a little bit of trouble as a figure. The Daima Vegeta that we got recently was fantastic, but it looks like this next Vegeta will have even more new articulation to go on top of that, and could potentially be the base going forward. And him together with this Goku, together with the new Gohan, and together with the 3.0 Trunks that they did a couple years back, I think that this is going to be the baseline going forward, and I think that there are some fantastic things ahead, especially since we are now sort of done with Namek and we can finally focus on new characters, new figures, all of the forms of Cell. First stage Imperfect Cell we've already gotten, proportions are off, but that's fine. But we need a semi-perfect and as well as a brand new perfect Cell, and I think what they're sort of achieving now, they can pull that off really, really well and have like a showstopper figure. Then we're going to be getting what looks like 4.0 Naruto figures as well, and they were already fantastic anyway, so it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you enjoyed that video, and I will see you all next time. Oh hi, I didn't see you there. As you can see, I'm hard at work making new videos for the channel. Now, while I'm happy with where the channel is right now, I could use your help. By liking, commenting, and subscribing to the channel, it helps out the YouTube algorithm and recommends my channel to more people. So if you like any of my videos, please let me know, it really helps out. And if you liked this one, please let me know too. It means a lot to me, and I really, really appreciate all of you guys.